So this is probably your first or second season you are taking duck hunting seriously. That's awesome. And you probably realize you have a lot to learn and just need someone to show you how to have that success. If this describes your situation, then you have come to the right place. My name is Benoit Boudreau, and I'm a professional hunting mentor. I've helped so many new hunters just like you experience success. Today, I'm going to share with you the top mistakes I see new hunters make. If you learn to avoid these mistakes, I promise you that you will be far more likely to shoot a bunch of ducks this season.
Into the dark, through the terror of the art, through the quiet of the woods, the beating of my heart, through the cold long years, the pain and the tears, through the power of disguise, element of surprise, to the patient skill, the power of the will, to the sorrow of the death, the glory of the kill, at the rise of the sun, the arrow to the gun, the father to the son, we were born to hunt.
Mistake number one, guys. Okay, and this is really important, and that is to find enough places to hunt. It is not okay for you to only have one or two places to hunt. You can do it if you want, but I can guarantee you, you're very unlikely to have success. The reason for that is waterfowl are migratory species. So that means their flight paths change every year, right? So just because they were in one pond last year does not mean that next year that they're going to be in that same pond at the same time of year, right? That pond might dry up, right? There might be changes, like cultural changes in the area. Everyone might decide to start planting a different crop that year, and now birds aren't attracted to that county anymore, right? They're going to bypass it. They're going to fly, you know what I mean, a couple dozen miles in a different direction as opposed to there as they come through. And I think that's important for you to realize, right? The more areas you have to hunt, the more resilient you're going to be, and your ability to adapt and to be able to experience success every hunting season is going to go way up. So you need to get good at finding the public areas that you can have access to, how you can access those areas, you know what I mean, in unique ways so you can get away from other hunters. So like maybe you need to use a kayak, right? Like my buddy Jordan, right? And get to the far back areas where it would take hours to walk, but with a kayak, you can get there in like 20 minutes. And that's where all the birds feel safe, right? That's one way, right? Other ways is by purchasing counting maps and getting like Onyx or iHunter mapping systems where you can figure out who owns all this private land. Mistake number two, shooting behind the bird. So this fall, I went out and I bought a shot camera, which is a really cool device that you put to the bottom of your shotgun. And what you do is you actually can film yourself while you're hunting, and you can figure out, why am I hitting birds or why am I missing? And the number one thing that we found that the reason hunters miss is because they're shooting behind the birds. So just like if you're playing soccer or hockey and you're trying to pass the ball or pass the puck to a moving target, you have to pass it in front of the moving target. You can't pass it to where they used to be because it's going to end up behind them. They're not going to be able to make contact with that ball or puck. It's the same with waterfowl hunting. You need to lead the shot. So mistake number two is shooting behind the bird. Keep that in mind. If you're missing this hunting season, it's because most likely you're shooting behind the bird. Mistake number three, that is being afraid to call. And I want to encourage you, I don't want you to be worried about what other hunters think, because like some people are insecure about like singing in front of other people, right? And what happens is they never sing and they never get better at singing, right? And it's the same thing with duck calling. Don't be afraid to call. The best way to get better at calling is by calling. You need to be able to watch the birds. How are the birds responding to my calling? Because it's not just how good you sound. It's about when you're calling and the manner you're calling, when you're stopping, when you're starting. And that's the only things you can really learn in the field, right? Mistake number four. I know there's a temptation. When you first start, you want to be able to have a big decoy collection and just like throw out a bunch of decoys and be able to attract birds. And you don't want to spend, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on decoys. You just want to, you know what I mean? You don't care where it's made. If it's made in China, that's okay with you. You just want to be able to start your collection right away. And I totally get it. I made that same mistake. What I want you to realize is that not all decoys are created equal. Birds see in ultraviolet light. So they don't see an exact same light spectrum as we do. So that's a big problem, because cheap decoys are not painted with UV reflective light. Real birds in real life from the sky A real bird, as it's flying around, it's looking down, and real birds will reflect ultraviolet light. So that tells them real birds, and they come down and they land in the decoys. However, if it's flying by and it's seeing your cheap decoys that you got from China that were not UV painted, they're going to be like, weird. Those things do not look like birds. Even if they're in the same shape, even if they have the same color, if they're not reflecting UV light, that could be a big red flag for them, right? So I want you to pay attention to that. Also, cheap decoys are hardly ever flocked. Flocking powder is like this fuzzy, dark substance that you put on decoys, and it actually makes them a lot darker, and it stands out from very far away, which is important in like low light conditions where you're often hunting waterfowl, right? Decoys, I would much prefer to have 12 expensive decoys that have UV correct paint, who are flocked, as opposed to 40 cheap decoys that aren't. Now, mistake number 5 is not finding a hunting mentor. Find someone who hunts in your area, who knows what he is doing. It's just way better than YouTube. It's one of the best ways you can learn how to hunt. And the last mistake is only watching YouTube videos to learn how to hunt. I want you to notice that I underlined only. Watching YouTube videos can be good. They can be helpful. But as new waterfowl hunters, it's difficult for you to filter through what is good information, what is bad information.
So if you have limited time this hunting season and want to ensure you have the best hunting experience possible, you can actually book a free phone call with a member of my team right now. The purpose of the call is to provide you with the details of all the hunting educational resources we have to give you like right away, as well as how you can have personal one-on-one access to me throughout the entire hunting season. So having private access to me, we've found it's the fastest way that new hunters can go out there and find lots of places to hunt, how they can improve their duck and goose calling right away. And like, even though it's their like first or second season of waterfowl hunting, they sound just as good as experienced waterfowl hunters who have been doing it for 20, 30 years. And also we are going to show you the best decoy strategies for killing birds in like a variety of situations, right? It doesn't matter what climate or region you're hunting in. We have strategies that can really help you. But it's best explained one-on-one over the phone because there's a lot of nuances. I can just throw a bunch of strategies at you, but if I don't provide you context and the little things you really need to pay attention to, they're not going to be as helpful for you. So does that sound good to you guys? Does that sound like, man, that'd be awesome, right? Like, who here wants to have more places to hunt? Who here wants to become the Pied Piper of calling birds, right? Who here wants to have fail-proof decoy strategies to just limit out every season? There's a button right next to this video, and if you click it, it'll take you straight to our scheduling program, and it's super simple. You just click the date and the time that works best for you, and a member of our team will be sure to talk to you and explain our whole program to you and answer any questions you might have, and also just to see if this would be a good fit for you. We don't have a lot of spots available. Our team is quite limited, especially as we get deeper and deeper into the hunting season. It gets crazy. So if you want to talk to us, make sure you book right now, because I don't want you to have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks to talk to us and the hunting season is over. So if you book a call right now, you're more likely to get a spot. So take care and God bless.